Okay, good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, I guess it is. And so welcome to my connecting session. You can see that I changed the name. I'm surprised that we have as big a group as we do for prospecting. That's encouraging and exciting. I'll try and make it as interesting as I can. None of the information I'm going to give you is new. It's all going to be stuff that you've probably heard before. You've probably heard it all. But hopefully I'll present it in a way that might cause you to see it a little bit differently. I firmly believe that when the student is ready, the master appears. And so hopefully something that I say in this will kind of jog you a little bit and help you understand that this business really isn't that complicated, but it is something that requires some consistency and requires a plan. So first up, you might want to say, well, who is this guy, right? Who is Steve Keefe? Who is he? How is he qualified to present this? And the first thing I'll say is that, I'm a 31-year veteran of the real estate industry. I've been with Coldwell Banker Skyridge Realty for a total of 31 years in different capacities. For the last 16 years, I've owned the brokerage here in Arrowhead and Big Bear. And I've served as a coach, mentor, counselor, babysitter, all of those things to some of the best realtors on the planet. We have some incredibly productive and powerful agents that have come through our doors and that have been here. Many of them have been here for 30 plus years. I've been able to see up close and personal the traits and the things that they do in order to be successful and to continue year after year to produce at a high level. And we're going to talk a little bit about those things today as I kind of go through this presentation. But first I want to mention that I saw Michael Shearhold's, I think it's Shearhold or Sheargold, his presentation yesterday. If you did not see that, I'm sure Chuck and Phil and Lance will have that recording available to you so that you can watch it and you can see it. He was amazing. He was unbelievable. And some of the things that he said yesterday really tie into the topics I'm going to discuss today. And he really went over the difference between the elite agent versus the average agent. And I would say, elite is kind of a strange word. The reality is that I guess elite is a good word, but I would just say productive agents that are successful. And those traits are, as I look at the traits that Michael shared with us, and I sort of reflect on and I think about those individuals within my organization and some of the individuals I know in your organizations, you can see those faces and you can see that they actually are doing those things. So I would just encourage you that you should check that out and take a look at that. What we're going to cover today is we are going to cover with regard to connecting, who should do it. We're going to cover why we should do it. We're going to cover the other why we don't do it. What should we be doing as far as connecting and prospecting? We're going to talk about where should we do it? And we're going to talk about when should we do it? Lastly, I'm going to do a wrap with questions, comments, and then I've got a challenge for you at the end of this thing that you can take home, a little homework for you to do. So first up, agents who want out of the cycle, okay? These are the individuals that who should be connecting, who should be spending time, and who should be on this webinar right now. So it's agents who want out of the cycle, agents who are in a stall, okay? They're in a airplane free fall, agents wanting growth, agents that want balance, agents that want to be turned on in one way or another. All right, so with agents who want out of the cycle, so the real estate cycle as we know it and as I observe it is we have a situation where it often looks very much like this, where you have no business, okay, and you realize you must do something in order to generate business, okay? You can do it one or two deals, but in order to have any sustained business, you have to do something. You have to prospect, you have to connect in some manner with another human being in order to do business. And so there are activities that are involved with that. And so what we see agents do is they start to do activity, they get very busy, they get one or two deals in escrow, and then they peak out. And then they work on their deal. They spend all the time that they have available to them working on their transaction and stressing over their transaction and working on their deal rather than working in your business. And they do that through the cycle for the 60 days or 45 days or whatever it is that it takes to close that business in those escrows. And then they end up after 45 days back down here at zero, where they have nothing going and they're like, oh my God, I have to do something. So then they start doing something, they start talking with customers again, they start finding the time to do that. And the cycle goes on and on and on. I have seen agents that have been in this cycle for 20 plus years. Okay, they've been there. There's a constant stress. The industry is a stress for them because they're either completely broke or they're just overworked. Okay, and the reality is that the successful agents realize and they understand that in order to break out of that cycle, they have to prospect. Okay, they have to continue to connect. No matter how busy they get, they have to find ways of doing those things on a daily basis or on a weekly basis that allows them to continue generating new business and bringing new business in. What happened here? Sorry about that. Why am I going backwards? Sorry guys, we got a little technical difficulty here.
Steve, try your keyboard arrows.
Got it.
There you go.
Yeah, I was using my, get back to where I was. Thank you. All right, so that's the cycle. All right. So there's a bunch of people here right now. So the other reason, the other person who should be connecting, who should be engaging in prospecting and connecting is the agent that's in a stall, okay? And even the best agents from time to time, they end up getting in a situation where they sort of stall out. They have life events, so they have something occur in their life where they hit turbulence, okay? This is an airplane wing here. And in the airplane wing, when everything is trimmed right, okay, and there isn't resistance and there's not turmoil and you're not in that stall and the flow is flowing over the wing the way it should, the business is easy. The plane flies easy, it flies fast, it flies efficiently. And our business is the same way, okay? Once we get into that stall, it sort of snowballs, okay? We become panicked, we get commission breath, we create a situation where we just almost can't do. And frequently, I can tell you, I have people come in my office who had, 6 months earlier were rolling. I mean, they had a lot of business going and they basically become overwhelmed with the fact that they just can't, they don't know what to do. And they're in this stall. So agents that are in the stall, they need to reconnect. They need to engage. They need to start doing something because once they start doing something, they're going to feel better. Agents that want growth, okay? So 1 or 2 deals, as I said, might fall in your lap as time goes on, but real growth takes effort and action. It takes initiative. It takes you to do, so you have to do something. You can't, you are not going to build a career in real estate off of floor time. Okay. There was a day when I first was in the business, floor time was a powerful tool to be used because you had a lot of traffic coming into the office. Well, the way that we've evolved, the way that technology has shifted, we don't have that as much. I mean, we have people that are shopping for their homes online. They're not necessarily coming into the office. So those that want growth, those that want to sustain and build their business, they have to have multiple avenues of prospecting means for them to generate that business. Agents that want balance, those are the other ones that should be connecting, right? And there's 2 things that I'm talking about when I'm talking about balance, okay? I'm talking about the leveling of the peaks and valleys, that cycle that we were talking about, right? That's the type of balance that I'm talking about in one respect. So agents wanting to narrow or to smooth that out to where you're not having the stress of being out of business, need to initiate, need to connect, need to use these prospecting means I'm going to be talking about in a few minutes. The other balance is building a balance with your business. In other words, the makeup of your business. And as I look at successful realtors, there's a formula, and you may realize it or you may not. But most realtors, and I think Tom will probably agree with me as a manager, when he sees a realtor that is producing at a very high level, there's a certain mix of business that they have. Okay. And for the most part, it's going to be listing based, right? Because they can leverage themselves on the listing side. Rarely do you have someone doing 50 deals a year when they're primarily or very much buyer weighted. I'm not saying you can't do it. You can. And we do have some agents that do that. But for the most part, top producers, people that are doing a high volume of business, for the most part, they're maybe 70-30. They're 70% listing side, 30% buyer controlled sale. And that's really where as I coach my agents, that's really where I want to get them to where they have a balanced business. And the only way you can do that is you have to prospect, you have to connect, and you have to be connecting in a way that you're generating that 70% of listing business and 30% of buyer business. So again, balance is where they should be. Agents wanting to be turned on. Okay, so it's said that the motion, okay, is what creates emotion, and that's what gets you going. That's what gets you excited. And so agents that you think about going out to a bar, right? Well, you're not going to get turned on, okay, if you're not connecting with someone. And really, that's what it's about. It's about connecting and, excuse me one sec, and creating that emotion. And it feels good to connect. That's the other thing that is going to keep you going. That's going to keep you motivated in order to do this. So let's move on to why we should connect. And the reason why we should connect is nothing happens until we move. In this business, it's a business that requires you to take action and you to take initiative. It's the only way you can grow your business. It's the only way out of the cycle. The crumbs are all that's left if you don't connect. The quality of our business elevates when we connect. Doors open. Well, doors open. So why should we connect? Nothing happens until you move. When we're in the business and if we don't take initiative, if we don't throw the pebbles into the water, then we're not going to create the waves. We're not going to create that activity. And in today's competitive market, you have to keep throwing pebbles. You have to keep using the different tools available to you in order to generate that additional business. If you don't do anything, if the water becomes glass, nothing's going to be happening for you. You have to be continually tossing the pebbles in the water. It's the only way to grow, right? So you can't harvest in the fall if you don't plant anything in the spring, right? So that's the whole concept behind you generating business, you generating the benefits, you generating the listings. Michael talked yesterday about the fact that you have to be looking down at the next quarter. What things you're doing right now to connect with people, with empathy, is going to generate business for you down the road. Many of us get caught up in the situation where we don't want to devote the time to building the business because we don't think they can do anything for us right now. Okay. And the reality is we have to be focused down the road. We have to be doing activities. We have to have a balance of activities that generate so that we can harvest in the future. And it's the only way we can grow our business. So you're not going to be able to grow your business by sitting still, being stagnant, going to the office, drinking coffee, and eating donuts. Those are not the things that are going to generate business for you. Keeping the funnel full is the only way to stop the cycle, right? So you have to make sure that you continue to prospect and get yourself out of the cycle. I see agents cruise along because they know the secret. They've had the ability. They understand how to continue to prospect even if they get very busy. They understand how to delegate their business away. But those individuals that are in pain consistently haven't figured that secret out yet. They haven't figured out that they have to continue. They can't allow themselves to get in this cycle where they work hard on their deals and spend all their time working on their deals and end up without having generated additional new business. There are more people out there working hard at this business than there ever have been. Okay, and there are more tools. As I said, when I got in the business back in the 80s, we didn't have all the tools that we had. Okay, there wasn't the level of competition that we have right now. There are a lot of hustlers out there. Okay? And if you are not a hustler, if you're not someone who is out there reaching out to people and continuing to connect with people, you're not. The only thing that's going to be left over for you is going to be the crumbs. Okay, there isn't going to be any of the pie. You're not going to be able to receive the big benefits that this business has to offer without reaching out to additional people. I'd be very careful about your sphere. If you don't have a plan in place to maintain your contact with your sphere, you don't have the ability to track that and maintain that. There are people out there that are constantly after your people, okay, the people you've worked with in the past, your past clients, and they are hustling. And I see it all the time. I'll see a deal come, a property gets listed by an agent that I know was not the agent that sold it to them. And invariably, it is an agent that is just very aggressive and has worked very hard at maintaining his ability to prospect and put himself out there. Ninja talks about flow, right? A person knows 8 or 10 agents, and in their lifetime, and who are they going to give the business to? They're going to give the business to that person that they are in flow with. They're going to give the business to the person that they most recently had an interaction with. In most cases, that's who they're going to work with, and you have to protect against that.
Hey, Steve.
Yes.
I'm going to interrupt you 1 second. Hey, Becky, if you can hear us, if you can mute your microphone, that would be wonderful. Thank you. Sorry, it was distracting,
Yeah,
Steve.
thanks, Lisa. I appreciate that. All right. So back to feeling good. The other thing, why we should connect, why should we be doing this? Why should we be prospecting? Okay, is that it feels good. Okay, it creates a sense for us that we're succeeding. Okay, that we and it feels good to connect with people. Prospecting is a word, and that's why I've shifted it in this particular case to substituted that, because prospecting doesn't really feel that good, right? It's not something that gives you that warm feeling. Connecting, everybody wants to connect. Everybody wants to create those connections and be able to benefit from that. And everything gets better as we elevate our business. Okay, we get better, our skills get better. You think about greasing the wheels, right? A car that's humming, that's really working well, that's in flow, that's moving along, versus that old clunker, okay, that doesn't have the wheels greased. Once we're in motion, once we're connecting with people, everything works better, and we are in a much better place to be able to serve and to be able to create value for those customers and clients that are around us. And the minute that we create that value, and if we're able to maintain that, that's when we get the business. It's all about us creating that value. The other reason why we should connect is doors open. It's I said it a second ago, opportunity. When the more people that you're connecting with, the more people you're talking to, the more people you're reaching out to, the more opportunities that are going to come to you, and you're going to be able to select better opportunities. If you think about it, if you only have one opportunity, okay, and it's a beater, okay, it's a nasty house, it's a problem seller, someone that you don't really want to deal with. There's a lot of liability associated with it. If that's your only opportunity, then what are you going to do? You're probably going to assume that risk. You're going to probably work with that person. We don't have to work with everybody. And by prospecting, by creating more opportunities for yourself, you have the ability to be selective and to work with better people and have better situations and have less liability for yourself and for your company. So connecting, why we should connect, is it opens additional doors for us. So why don't we do it? Why don't we connect? Okay, what are the reasons why we don't connect? And if confidence is missing, then we won't act. We see that in all aspects of our lives. If we're not confident in a certain area of our life, we're not going to do it. We're going to move away from it. Okay, I'll give you an example. So we have to implement a new plan for our office, okay, to open our office. Many of you are in the same boat. You're all dealing with the same thing. And I'm not confident in that process. It's outside my area of expertise. And I've known since last Friday, I think, Friday about 5:30, that I know what the guidelines are. I know what I'm supposed to do, but I'm not confident in that process because it's not clear. Okay, there's confusion, and it's like anything else. We find that we resist that. We don't move forward. We don't act when we're not confident. We'll do it later. We all do that in all aspects of our life. We're going to get to it later. Shiny stuff and distractions, the other reason why we don't do what we should do, what we know we should do. We aren't thinking connecting. We're thinking prospecting. We're thinking prospecting, and I don't like to prospect, and nobody likes to prospect. So we're not thinking connecting. We get caught up in the rat race. We get super busy with what we're doing. We don't know what to say or how to say it. And I'll tell you what, if that's a struggle you have, I'm going to share a story with you in a minute. That's probably the biggest skill that I believe agents need to work on, is knowing what to say and how to say it and using power language. Michael Shergold yesterday in that session I took a full page of notes on phrases and power language that he used and that he uses and he coaches with. And I can just tell you that if you have that in your repertoire, if you have that ability to speak in that manner, more doors are going to open. You're going to feel more comfortable, and you're going to have more confidence. You're going to move forward with it. And that probably most importantly, where it all stems from, is that we forget the relationship between doing and the result. The gym is a perfect example, right? We don't have the right systems or tools in place. And we have the right systems and tools because we're all Coldwell Banker agents. Everything's there. It's all available to us. Chuck's providing it to you. I'm providing it. Lance is providing it. Phil's providing it. But there's a hiccup. I'm going to talk about that. So why don't we connect? No confidence, no action. So this guy is a perfect example where he is caught in a situation, and he doesn't have the ability because things have changed. COVID is a perfect example. Things have changed, and it has immobilized some. Some of you, it hasn't immobilized at all. Some of you are continuing to do what you've done, and you've adapted to the change. You've set your sails just a little bit differently, but many of us have not. And it's because we don't have a confidence. I mentioned in one area for me that I'm dealing with is reopening of the office, is that I don't have that. There's uncertainty to me there. There's not clarity to the process, and we need to find a way to work through that. Okay, I've set a deadline. We're going to open Saturday. So I have to work through it. I have to find that clarity. But it's an example for you that I haven't done the actions necessary in order to move forward because I don't have the confidence. We all do it. Procrastination. Why don't we connect? We're going to do it later. Okay. We will. It's a curse for the most part. You know, we're going to get to it. And the reality is that we frequently don't get to it. We frequently put it off to a point where it's just, we don't have time to do it, whatever that function is. And much of the important things, okay, in connecting and prospecting, we don't get to. We just never get there because we run out of time. Shiny stuff. Everybody's got this. I grew up in the 80s, okay, and life was much simpler back in 1982 when I graduated from high school. And there's a lot of shiny shit out there right now, okay, and we become distracted. I sit down on my computer, and as I was building this presentation over the last couple of days, I found myself getting distracted in so many different ways because you're just getting flashed with all these notifications and everything else. And so much of the time, the reason we don't connect and the reason we don't find the time to prospect is because we just get sidetracked down these rabbit holes. Okay, the first thing we do when we get to the office or when we sit down to start working is we open up our email, right? And we start looking at our email, and then we're done at that point because it's just never ending. We're caught in a situation where something looks interesting, and then you get some special sale that comes in that the notification comes across and everything else. We have to train ourselves, and those top agents, those individuals that are really good at this, okay, that make the time for this, don't turn on their email until they're done with their, and at least their initial setting their day and setting their tone with their Ninja 9 or whatever it is that they're doing as their routine in the morning on a regular, consistent basis. They're not thinking connecting. Okay, what we don't prospect because we're not thinking that this is really all this is really about. And even more so now with COVID, this is very much about, in fact, a value call or a call where you're trying to coerce business out of someone. That's not going to be met with a positive situation unless there has been some reach on your part in an empathetic way. Okay, finding out how they are. I mean, the reality is that we've all been talking about this, and hopefully you're all doing it. And I assume you probably are reaching out to all of your client base. And I've been receiving, like, my title people are all sending me the, hey, you know, COVID is affecting everybody differently. I hope you're doing okay. I know it's a canned message. I know what they're doing. Okay, but it still feels good. Okay, and it's all about that connection. It's all about that reaching out. And for some of us, that's all prospecting is that connection, creating that connection, reminding that person that you're there, okay, and that you're available to them, and that you value them, and that's really what it's all about. So we're not prospecting because we're not really thinking about the fact that really is prospecting, is the connection. And then we all get so busy, right? That's the cycle that we go through. We're constantly going through those peaks and peaks and valleys, because we just get so busy. All right. And there are so many things that we have to do on an ongoing basis, most of which we don't have to do, but we do it. Okay. I can tell you for myself, I have an assistant, Jackie. She's amazing. Okay. And I've gotten better with it over time. And I'm more productive today than I was a year ago or 2 years ago, because I've been able to delegate those things that I really shouldn't be doing, some of which I like to do, and that's why I do them. But I've been able to delegate those things to her. And that's what you have to do. Okay. In order for you to up your game, in order for you, like, you're going to say, Steve, I don't have any time to prospect. I have all these other things I have to do. Well, you have to make an adjustment. You have to start delegating some of that stuff. And it's hard. I had a really hard time with that, but over time I've gotten better at it. And I can tell you that you become much more productive once you allow yourself to jump out of that wheel and let somebody else take care of some of those things that they can take care of that you really don't have to be taken care of. So many times we're not connecting is because we just don't have the time. We're caught up in just that constant go, go, go. We don't know what to say. Okay, we're not connecting with people. And I think this is the biggest one. We don't know what to say to somebody. When I call them up, okay, during COVID, it's easy. You call them up or you contact them and you say, how you doing? How's it going? How's this affecting you? Right? That's simple, right? But in normal times, we have a hard time. We're tongue-tied. I was a late bloomer, right? So in high school, I talked about being in high school, and I wasn't very good at dating. Like, I didn't have a girlfriend in high school. I didn't do so well in that area of my life, right? And it was because I was shy. It was because I didn't know what to say. I didn't have the right lines. I didn't have the right language. I didn't have the right dialogue. I wasn't confident in that area. And I'll tell you that I figured that out, and I became better at that over time. And knowing what to say and how to say it makes a huge difference in your ability to extend yourself and to be out there and to be talking with someone. I'm still, believe it or not, I'm still a relatively shy guy. I'm somebody who, in a social setting with people I don't know, I'm not that wallflower guy. I'm not that guy that is the gregarious guy. And a lot of times it reverts back to, I don't quite know what to say in that situation. In a work setting, it's a much different scenario for me because I've been here so long. I've got so much experience. I know what to say. I have the script down. But in reality, much of the time in prospecting and in connecting with our customers and clients, especially people we don't know, knowing what to say is a major roadblock. And that's why we don't connect with them. You must work on that. That's an area that everyone needs to focus on, the dreaded role playing. But whatever it is, you need to have certain things, and start with Michael Shergold's session. I'm telling you, there will be, you'll write down a bunch of notes on his stuff. So ladies, this one's for you, and some of the guys maybe too. But this is, the other reason why we don't connect is we forget the relationship between doing and the results. Okay. And this guy here, do you think he got the way he is without having a consistent and regular effort on his part, a plan, things that he did very intentionally in order to get himself to in that kind of shape, in that kind of place? Real estate agents are the same way. Okay. In order for them to be finely tuned, in order for them to be humming, okay, most of the people that are high producers, okay, and I could name a bunch of them, they have a regimen, they have a routine, they have things that they do on a consistent basis. It doesn't just happen by accident. This guy didn't become muscle man by accident. Okay, he had a plan, and he executed on that plan, and he executed on that plan on a regular basis. The average person, the average agent, okay, the average person is going to be the guy who January decides, man, I am really out of shape, and it's time for me to have a New Year's resolution to go back to the gym. And they start on a plan. Okay, they're going to go 5 days a week, or they're going to do this, or they're going to do that. And how long does it last? What's the average? Somebody out there probably knows. I don't know what the average is, but I can tell you, I know it's not very long. And those New Year resolutions are broken very quickly. Well, if you break those New Year's resolutions in your business, you're not going to get to a point where you're like this guy, where he is a finely tuned machine. And maybe you don't want to be a finely tuned machine, but to be at a higher level than where you are right now, you still have to create that initiative for yourself. The tools and the systems, okay, we have them all. Lisa's on the call. She'll spend as much time as you'd like talking about. We have everything that we need to be successful. And why don't we connect? It has to do with the fact that we're not proficient with the tools. We don't understand how they work. I've just recently been implementing a new CRM system, and my head is swimming. I was on an hour-long call yesterday with the guy. You know, it's an amazing system, and I'm very excited about the potential of what it's going to do for us. But understanding and getting my head around how it all works and how the system ties everything together. Many of us are in the same boat. Okay, we've been thrust into this situation where we have all these tools and systems, and we're being told how to use Zap and CBX and all the other things. It's all powerful. It's all stuff that will create additional business for us. But we need to understand how they work, and we need to be able to maximize and utilize them in an efficient way. And many of us are not doing that. We become confused by it. And then once we become confused, what happens? We don't use them. Okay, we go back to inactivity. So what should we do to connect? Okay, I'm just going to run through these really quickly. Do you what you like? Okay, so when you're prospecting, the number one thing is do what you like and that you're good at. If you don't like it, okay, if you're not good at it and you don't like it, and you're having to force yourself to do this activity, or you're not comfortable with the activity, you're not going to do it. Okay, I mean, over time, you're just not going to do it. If you're in a situation where you know that you need to exercise, and you pick some type of exercise that is incredibly painful or incredibly boring or whatever it is, you over time, it doesn't matter how motivated you are, you're not going to carry through with it. You're not going to do it. The last part of that point is that you need to make sure it works. Okay, you need to make sure that whatever it is that you're doing, you need to be evaluating it and looking at it. I recommend that you follow the Ninja 9. Okay, and I'm not going to go into the Ninja 9 right now, but I recommend that you follow it. It's a daily routine that even before you turn on your email, if you go through that process, it's going to take you 15, 20 minutes max. And you've already set your day on the proper path. You've already created a situation. And I know many of you are very familiar with Ninja and are very familiar with the Ninja 9. We all go in fits and starts. We go through that cycle, right? We do it for a while, we write the personal notes for a while, and then we drop away from it. I'll tell you, those individuals, I know some of them that are consistently writing those and are consistently following through with that. It works. And if you're a brand new agent, it's a foolproof system that allows you to get up to speed very quickly. What should we do to connect? We should use Ford questions. I have several agents that I work with that are absolute masters and experts, okay, to a point where I've got some personal friends that are so good at this that when I'm with them personally, I get really irritated because they spend so much time going through their family, their organization, their recreation, and their dreams. I mean, they're finding all this information about these people, and it's a very powerful way to connect with people. You need to take a look around and see what's working now. Okay. The other thing that we've got is you've got. Let me find that one note because I want to talk about it specifically. You have so many people around you that are being successful with their prospecting and their connecting. I look at Michelle Calkins and what she's doing with her social media. I look at the consistency that many of these other agents are using that are successful and that work. And you need to be able to monitor what's working now because things change. Also in my history, I used to race sailboats. Okay, many years ago in high school and college, I was on the U.S. sailing team, and I did a lot of sailboat racing. If you know anything about sailing, the environment is constantly changing. Okay, and in order for you to win, in order for you to take the lead, in order for you to win the race, you have to be able to constantly adjust to those changing conditions. Okay, every second something's changing. Well, every second something isn't changing in real estate, but things change often in real estate, and especially now. So you have to monitor those things that are really working. You have to look at those procedures and those different prospecting means. What worked 20 years ago, okay, or what worked really even 5 years ago, is not the most effective way for you to spend your time and your dollars prospecting now. So it's important for you. All of us are connected. Okay, and the beauty of what we're doing right now with these trainings and everything else that Chuck is and Lance and Phil have orchestrated is this sort of network of individuals all sharing the best practices. And so reaching out to each other. And if you see someone in your organization that's really having great success with one thing or another, then talk with them about it and figure out what they're doing and R&D it, rip off and duplicate it, and obviously with their permission. But the reality is we're all in it to help each other, and you need to be looking at what's working now as opposed to what's working in the past. Multiple streams of prospecting or connecting is critical. Okay, we talked about the Ninja 9. Okay, that's one. Okay, that's not enough. You're not going to build a 15, 20 deal a year career on just the Ninja. Well, you might. Okay, but you need to have, in my opinion, as I see the most successful agents, they've got multiple streams of lead generation and prospecting and connecting going on. So you need to add those streams. You need to add streams and figure you're going to do $1 million in sales for each stream that you add. If you really think about this, if you want to do $10 million in sales, well, your sphere is the biggest one. We're going to talk about it in a minute, but your sphere is your biggest. And so you should be able on your sphere, okay, to do probably $3 to $4 million in production, depending on where you are as far as average sales price. But you should be able to do a lot of business, a respectable amount of business on your sphere alone, if you really work it and you do the things that you need to do in order to maximize that. But anything else that you add to it, okay, if open house is your thing or whatever it is that is your thing, factor in that you need to have. So if you want to do $10 million in business, you need to have 5 or 6 or 7 different things that you're doing to generate and connect with other people. And we're going to talk about what some of those things are in just a minute. And then you need to implement actions and maximize those streams. So where should we connect? Okay, I just mentioned your sphere. That's the number one. Everyone needs to connect with their sphere. That is your number one source of business. Social farms, social media has become more and more a critical avenue. It creates a situation that you're allowing yourself to project expertise. I have brand new agents that are very good with social media and social and projecting themselves out. They become instant experts, and they're able to project that expertise through social media with very little experience. Social media, social farms, I should go back to that. So social farms versus social media. Social farms are going to be your Rotary Club, your whatever, your gym, all of those places where you're socially active, restaurants you go to, if you're a bar dweller, if you hang out at bars, there's another social farm for you. But those are areas, that's just an extended version of your sphere. I mean, those are going to be folks that maybe aren't in your close circle of friends or close colleagues. It's going to be people just outside of that. Current client referrals. There's 20 of these things, right? And there's way more. There's all kinds of different ways for you to generate these different sources of connection. Open house. We're all struggling right now with open house, right? So the only one that I'm really going to talk about is open house. Kevin Donahoe, who's an agent of mine up in Big Bear, is really frustrated because open house is his thing. He likes to do open house and he can't do it. And so what Kevin did, we had our office meeting yesterday, and he had these writers made, and it says house open daily, call for time. And so what he did was he put these writers, and I had some made up yesterday because he told me about this yesterday, but he put these writers on his normal open house signs. Now you got to check with your broker and you got to check with your area. And I don't know, maybe Canyon Lake's got some other restriction about, maybe you can't do this, but here, in Big Bear and here in Arrowhead, it's a no-brainer where you put those writers out there. And so what Kevin did was, it says call for an appointment. So he's going to do open house by appointment. And the first thing he does is the person calls and he says, well, the only way I can show you the house is I need you to view it on this link and make sure it's something you might want to look at. And so he sends them, he gets their phone number because they called him, he gets his email address because he has to email them this link or they can't see the property. And they acknowledge, yes, they want to do it. Kevin did this. It was his concept. He stole it from somebody, R&D'd it from somebody. But he stole a concept, and he had 4 showings on his $800,000 listing in Big Bear over the weekend. So creatively thinking about how you can utilize different tools, that's not even on my list, okay? But there are many different ways for you to be able to develop these points of connection. And you pick what you want. You pick what you are interested in doing. So there's the 20 that I have for you. And you can connect in any of these areas. Number one being your sphere. Okay, when should we connect? Worst first. So if you put it off to the end, if you don't do your prospecting, if you don't do your connecting early on, I find my day gets filled very quickly with other things. And if I don't get to it, if I don't write my notes first thing in the morning, and worst first really isn't the right terminology, but you get the idea that you need to get those things, you need to get that stuff out of the way that is critical and important at the beginning of the day. Start early in the day to set the tone for your day, get yourself off on the right foot, set your schedule, block off the time. It's non-negotiable. You're not going to allow anything else to get in the way of that time. I had to prepare this morning for this, right? So I had to block everything else out. I had people that were coming in, they were interrupting me. I had to put a note on my door that said, look, non-negotiable time. I got to get this done. I got to be focused on this. That's how it almost should be with your, well, not almost, that's how it should be with your connecting time. And every day you work, you connect, okay? You're utilizing those different avenues and aspects of what you're doing. So how much time have we got? Where are we at now? 45 minutes. Okay, so I'm doing pretty good. All right, so let me just wrap it up here. Guys, this whole thing that it's either a business or it's a hobby. And half the realtors that have real estate licenses in the state of California, it's a hobby, okay? It's not a business for them, okay? And that's okay. They don't have to connect. They don't have to do these things on a consistent basis. But I'm going to tell you that if you are in business, if someone is relying on you to bring in income, or you need to bring in income for yourself, you must do these things. You must have different avenues in order to build your business to a point where it's a business and it's not a hobby any longer. There's a lot of hustle out there. I mentioned it before. The only thing that's left over, there isn't going to be much. The garbage, the stuff that you almost don't want to be dealing with is going to be what's left over. If you want to list a bunch of lots, okay, we have an area. Well, I don't even want to say. We have certain areas on the mountain that you can buy a lot for $5,000. Well, that's what's left to the people that really aren't hustling, is that type of business. And so there is a lot of hustle out there. You must work hard at this prospecting and this connecting in order to get your share of that good quality pie. And then your quality of your business elevates. Everything gets better once you get in this practice of building and generating your business. You have to be consistent. You have to track it, monitor the results, and you have to make the adjustments. You have to change the sales. You have to do away with activities. If Zillow's not working for you, okay, Michael just exposed me to Social Ad Engine. Lisa exposed me to Social Ad Engine. And over the last week, I made a commitment to implement it. And it's unbelievable. Okay, if you haven't looked at Social Ad Engine, it is unbelievable. And the quality and the number of leads that have come through with all your listings that are already there, I don't need Zillow anymore. Okay, I don't need to go down that road and spend the amount of money that we're spending because we're not getting the quality of the leads. And so we need to be able to make those adjustments. We need to be looking, as a company, we look at that. You as an agent, it's your own business. You're running your own company. You need to be monitoring and making those adjustments. Being consistent is the number one thing. That big guy with the muscles, there's no way he was going to get to be where he's at without that consistent effort. If he works out really hard one day a week, he's not going to get there, and nor are you as far as building your business. I love to celebrate. Okay, I love to, anybody that knows me, I love to celebrate. I love to have fun. Part of this whole process and keeping you going and keeping you on track and doing the things that you need to be doing is you need to be celebrating those wins, and you need to be, treating yourself. And if you've got somebody helping you with that, treating that person so they remain motivated. So celebrating the wins and recognizing and knowing that you're planting those seeds for down the road. It's not just an immediate gratification thing. It's very, very important. And remember, everyone likes to connect. I don't think anybody likes to be prospected, right? But everybody loves to be connected with, and everybody loves and we're seeing it even more and more during this COVID thing. So I told you there was going to be a challenge. So there's a 2-part challenge for you, okay, that I would just encourage you and challenge you to consider this. Hopefully some of the things that I've said have made you realize that you need to add a little bit of something to what you're doing. You need to step up your game just a little bit. And so this 2-part challenge, what the first thing I want you to do, and whenever I have an agent come in and meet with me, and we're reviewing what they're doing, or if they're stuck, okay, or they're in a stall, or they're just not, it's not happening for them the way that they want it to happen. The first thing I say is, okay, print out all the deals you did in the last 12 months. And let's take a look at it. And I want you to tell me where all these deals came from. So every single one of the transactions you did, where did it come from? So you identify where that business is coming from. And then figure out, most of the time it's sphere of influence. Okay, it's referrals from your sphere of influence. The next step of this thing is you need to find 2 things that you can do to get more of that and do it. So what strategies can you implement? What plan can you do? What little bit of extra, what slight edge can you add to this thing to where you can just do more of what you did last year? Because obviously what you did last year, it worked for you. Okay, that's where your business came from. It just wasn't enough. Okay, or you wanted more. And so in order to do that, y'all realize that you don't get more without doing more. Okay, it doesn't just magically happen. So focus on that, understand that. Sometimes people are surprised where their business is coming from. That deal came from there, that deal came from there. And so it's important to recognize that and spend the time tracking and looking at that and taking a look at it. It doesn't take long to do it. And then the next thing I want you to do, so that's the first part. The second part of it is I want you to look for 2 more streams. I just want you to identify 2 things: open house, or farm, geographic farm, or I'm going to step up my social media game. I'm on Facebook, but I'm not on Instagram. Well, guess what, guys? If you're not on Instagram, okay, you're missing out on a big portion and a big amount of exposure. You'll find that many Todd Conklin, many of the guys that are very good with their social media presence, their primary focus is Instagram. I made a shift. I've got 5,000 Facebook friends. Okay, I don't have nearly that many Instagram friends, but I made a shift about 3 months ago where I started focusing more and more attention. My primary, and I'm going to tell you in a minute how to connect with me if you want to connect with me, is on Instagram. And so if you're missing out, so that could be the one stream. Okay, I'm not talking about huge differences. Just find 2 more things. And remember, you're going to have to find a way to find that more time, right? Because you're going to tell me right now, you don't have enough time to do 2 more new streams. Develop 2 activities for each of those streams. Okay, so find 2 things, whatever it is, engage more, come up with 2 strategies that you're going to be able to work those two areas that you're going to develop those streams into more connections for you. And then I want you to write it down so you can review it and monitor your results. None of this works if you don't write it down. Okay, you have to write down where your deals came from. You have to write the 2 things that you're going to do. Okay, you're going to have to write down the 2 streams that you're going to add, and you're going to have to write down the 2 activities in each of those streams. Now, if you want to do massive, then you increase the number of activities in those areas. But I'm just asking you to do 2, because I know everybody can do 2. I know everybody can find that. So write down so you can review and monitor. And there's one last step. You got to share what you wrote down with your manager or some other accountability partner. None of this works if you don't tell somebody else. Because guess what? You'll write it down just like any other business plan. You're going to stick it in your drawer and you'll forget about it. Okay. You have to tell somebody else about it. Okay. If you're on my team and you work with me, then you need to tell you can tell me. Okay. Or you can pick somebody else. If it's Chuck or Tom or whoever, Chris, you have to share it with somebody. That's where the challenge all comes together, having that level of accountability. You all can do this. And you all need to do it. I just told you all the reasons why you should do it. So if you want to connect with me, you can always connect with me on Facebook. I do a lot of projection there, but the other thing is on Instagram. And the other thing that I'll invite you to is that, because one of the things that we have done as a group with Chuck and Lance and Phil and others is we're all leveraging each other. And we're all leveraging you. So we've got many different talents that are in all of these organizations, and we're relying on them. Casey in Long Beach, putting together all of those those great pieces that we're putting out on social media. There's so many people that are coming together on this. And the one thing, we all developed our own private Facebook pages. So ours is CB Skyridge Mastermind. And that's my back end. That's where everything happens on the back end for our team. All the videos, everything that we do as a company on the back end. And I just did a real quick video before I went on this about Kevin's idea regarding the open house by appointment. And that kind of stuff is there. And I got that idea because Chuck invited me into his, and Lance invited me into his, and that sharing is incredible. So I'm going to tell you that if you reach out to me, I will add you. I will invite you into that group if you're interested, because what we have is we've got all of our agents, and we've got me, and we've got others sharing all that information, and you may get ideas. You may get something from it that may be helpful to you. And that's all about this collaborative effort that we're experiencing right now, which I want to thank Chuck and Lance in particular, and Phil and Chris for pulling all this together, because it really is an amazing and awesome experience. Questions or comments? Is there anything? Maybe is there? Lisa, can you see the chat?